Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're doing a Megacon Roundup. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent. Today we're doing a Megacon Roundup. I went for the day, not really even a day, it was a couple hours, and I got some things to show you and some things I wanted to talk about. So, I guess let me show you the books I have in my hand, what I got, and what I didn't get, and then we'll talk about stuff related to them. So first thing, I was looking at the guest list, a couple weeks ago, and I went with my best friend Jim, who you have seen on this channel do the guest reviews and stuff like that. He's got his own YouTube channel, Viper Magic, about video games. So if you enjoy that stuff, check him out for sure. But we went, and he was saying he's going to go Friday. He's got an appointment to get a picture with Stephen Amell. And if I didn't have other things I needed to do that late afternoon, evening, I would have totally tag-teamed on his Stephen Amell picture and paid half or whatever. But that didn't work out. So anyway, so I had a timeline. And I took my son, we're going to get there at 11 and see how long he lasted. Basically, he's 1.5, so, he's got to have snacks and stuff to be entertained with. He did pretty well. But I was looking at the guest list, and I was like, oh, Brian Azzarello's there. I can get stuff signed from him. Jay Lee is there. I can get stuff signed from him. Tom King, Clay Mann, who else? Doug Monke, Peter Tomasi. All these guys I have stuff recently bought from, as well as, have a bunch of trades and stuff like that I could have gotten signed. But, it's one day, and I didn't want to get everything signed, I haven't gotten stuff signed in a long time, and we'll get there. But so here's what I got signed. Batman Damned, #1. This is the Batwang issue. That's Brian Azzarello's signature right here on the bottom. I guess it's an ARR, and then an O at the end, Azzarello for the last name. Okay. He was a pretty nice guy. Didn't really talk to anybody that much for too long, just because... I don't know, I was busy. My son was kind of whining whenever we would stop or whatever. So, second thing I got signed from Brian Azzarello is the Luthor hardcover. I took the dust covers off of these before I stuck them in my son's diaper bag, because I didn't want to get the things messed up. And also too, with hardcovers and stuff, there's always the opening page, and they can sign in there. So that's what Mr. Azzarello did. He made it out to me, to Brent Azzarello. None of these things are leaving my library. It's got Libra Mayo art. It's beautiful. I'm not giving this away or selling it, and it's a great story too. If I had not had lent the Joker hardcover to my bestie Jim Afanis, I would have gotten that signed instead of the Luthor one. I like that one a little bit better. But there's always a next time. So there's that. The next thing, this is what I waited in line for forever, was my copy of Detective Comics 1000. So I was waiting in line for this guy up here, Mr. Doug Monke, the DM, and I also got signed by Peter Tomasi, whom I can't make out Tomasi or Peter on that signature. Really weird how these guys do that. DM, I can make out, no problem. But I was waiting in his line. Doug Monke was doing a thing where he would do a sketch, and then he would sign for a while, and then he would start another sketch, and then sign for a while. And he had prints for sale, $20 art prints, which a lot of them looked really good, and I was kind of like oohing and ahhing over one of them. And I thought, oh, I'll come back. I ended up not going back, which is unfortunate, but they were beautiful prints. Good job, whoever printed them for you. And, stick with that printer. But, we're kind of waiting in this line for a while, and Greg Capullo was around the corner, and I wanted Greg Capullo to sign this as well. He's got a little short story in here. So Capullo went off to do his panel. He left. I was talking to a guy in line behind me, and he actually was like, screw this, I'm going to go wait in Capullo's line, because it was moving much faster. He was not doing any sketches or anything at his table at that time. So it was like boom, 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 boom. So it came down to it when Doug Monke finished the sketch he was doing. He was signing stuff. So my line was moving, and then the guy I had met behind me was, like 3-4 people away at Capullo, and he's looking at me like, do you want me to thing? And I'm looking at Doug Monke, and he's signing stuff, and then I got Jim over here in the middle, and Jim's like, whatever you want me to do, I'll go hand him the book, whatever. The problem was, this is the only book I had that, both of them I had, I guess, wanted to sign. But it is what it is. I'm not butthurt over about it. There will be other opportunities if I want to. And I only have this one book because I don't have many physical comics anymore. The only physical comics single issues I have right now are Action Comics 1000, which I brought to get signed, and ultimately nobody signed that because people were busy or out to lunch or whatever. And Detective Comics 1000, Batman Damned, #1. And that's it. Everything else is a hardcover, softcover, whatever. So it's difficult to get a bunch of books signed. You know, I sold all my single issues in, when did we leave must have been 2011. It's before we left the apartment. We were just about to move, 1 or 2 years before then. So 2011, 2012, I sold all my single issues, 2013 maybe, just in a big pile, $600. Here's 12, 13, 14, 15 short boxes, just go. And so I don't have anything to sign. My Doug Monkey, somebody pulled out a Batman 25 or whatever with the first appearance of Red Hood with Judd Winnick, or 625, whatever that number was. And I was like, oh man, I had that issue. I had all these issues, and I had Batman #1 from the New 52 with Greg Capullo at one point in time. I think I had 1 and 2 before I went all digital. So, I think there's a bunch of things of Spawn over there in my library that I could have gotten signed, but they are like 20 issues and they're thick. I didn't really want to lug those around. Anyway, so that was a little, that was the biggest struggle. The biggest line I waited in was because the way that they were doing, Doug Monkey was doing his stuff, but it's his booth, it's his prerogative, that's fine. Peter Tomasi, talked to him for a smidge, said I enjoyed the work, blah, blah, blah. He was talking to his editor at DC before I walked up, so I was letting him finish. I was like, I saw her badge say DC, so, you take your time, you say whatever you need to her because, I want to keep you employed, sir. I enjoy your work. He's like, well, she's actually my editor, so like, yeah. Gotta be respectful of these things, people. They're there to sign your books and stuff like that, but, they're also there to mingle and work, and a lot of these guys, I think, are freelancers. If they're not, they still have, it's still a work day for them, basically, because they're doing signings or public appearances, etc. So you still got to be nice to people and wait patiently in line. And if you don't like something, get out of that line. The last thing I got signed was this one right here, Stephen King Dark Tower by Mr. Jay Lee. He does the interiors here, and does a lot of stuff for Marvel. He's done Batman Superman for DC with the New 52. So here's his signature down at the bottom. It does look like Jay Lee when you really look at it, but it's hard to tell. Trying to look at, see if there's one on the covers here. I don't really know if there is, but I've definitely seen his signature before, and it is the same. It's just a little bit smaller. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but whatever. Can't make everybody happy, I guess. But it's cool. Nice little thing you see when you open the book. So I enjoyed that. The only thing I bought, well, that's not true. The only new thing I spent money on is, of course, this puppy right here, Azrael, Fallen Angel, Volume 1. It's probably the only volume that'll ever get printed. This has Sword of Azrael 1 through 4, Showcase number 10, Showcase 94 number 10, and Azrael 1 through 7. So pretty hefty book. It's got a cover price of $19.99. I have never actually seen this in a store. And I was walking by the table as we were out of, leaving basically. And it had a thing that said $7. And I was like, that's mine, $7. I'll put it on my shelf. I already have this digitally. I bought it full price when it came out digitally, but I do want it on my shelf. Just, maybe for later. I rebought all the Nightfall and Night Quest trades for this reason. So why wouldn't I want the Azrael trade that follows that saga right there too? I mean, that would just be silly. I do already have the first limited run collected edition of Sword of Azrael with the same cover basically, but it says Sword of Azrael here instead of just Azrael. But this will go on the other end, so it'll be bookended by Azrael basically. Sword of Azrael, and then I have Nightfall 1, 2, 3, Night Quest 1, 2, 3, Night's End 1, 2, and 3, which is Prodigal and Troika in this new trade dress now, and then I'll put this new Azrael trade paperback on the end of that. because they got all the spines. I did this video earlier with the spines line up and stuff. So that's that. So let's talk about what I thought was a little bit confusing. I have not been getting things signed in a couple of years, I guess, because I don't have single issues. And this was the only year where I was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna bring Noah. I'll have a backpack and I can carry stuff and not have to, you know, carry it on my back because he's in a stroller. I'll hook it to that, no problem. So the last time I had gotten things signed many years ago, I don't even know when, but I have been to Megacon in a year or two prior with Jim, just shopping and, you know, messing around, whatever, buying prints. I hadn't gotten anything signed. Every person I went to today, except for Doug Monkey, I had to pay to sign, for them to sign my book. Every single one. Now, you know, there were other artists and stuff that were not charging for you to sign their book or for them to sign your book, whatever. Now, I know there are things where if you come up with like a long box or short box and you say, sign my whole run of Spawn, Greg Capullo, he's going to want to charge you money because you're taking up people's time. You know, you're obviously either a store owner or whatever. Maybe you truly are a collector, but the massive amount of like, you know, quantity of that, usually people will charge you for that pleasure. I had thought about doing a CGC for Batman Damned #1 and Action Comics 1000, Detective Comics 1000, whatever, and we stopped by that booth, and I had no idea the amount of hassle that was going to be. And with, you know, trying to spend time with Jim and hang out with him and having my son there who's 1.5 and is, you know, we just got there, but I was like, I don't even know how this is going to go with him. That was a process that I did not even want to attempt. And I'm glad I didn't because it would have cost me more money than I had even thought of. I knew there was a cost for them to like slab the book and grade it and all that stuff and to ship it to you. So there's some inherent cost when you get a thing, you know, slabbed by CGC. But you had to fill out paperwork, and then you had to have your witness come with you to everything. So if you, like, if I wanted Action Comics, Detective Comics 1000 signed and said, here's people I want to go to, that guy comes with you, waits in line with you, I guess, at some point, and then gets it signed, and then you take it back immediately, and they you know, package it or whatever, ship it to their grader, and then ship it to you later when it's done. What I didn't know is that every artist, up until I got to Doug Monkey's table, every artist is charging for a signature that is a CGC signature. And I was like, okay, so typically I think they were like $10 for most of them. And I was like, oh, I didn't bring enough money to do all these because I was like, me, you know, Neil Adams, you know, blah, 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 these other people. There were more people on my signature list that I wanted to go see. Like I brought Dark Victory. Tim Sale was there. Tim Sale, when I walked up to his table, was doing a sketch, and he wasn't signing again until 4 p.m. The sketch looked beautiful. It was going to be rendered with gray tones and everything. It was going to come out great. But I knew I had to leave before 4 p.m., and by that time I had assessed that my son Noah was not going to last that long, so did not get the thing signed by Tim Sale, but maybe the next time. That's okay. But the CGC thing, I was like, man, what a hassle. You know, if you got a whole bunch of books and you want to get this thing slabbed, if you want to preserve it, sell it, whatever, what a hassle. I thought, like, a better thing would be for CGC to create a little booklet, you know, and then give out stamps or give you a stamp, you know, like, this is your stamp, it's numbered. Give this to the artist and have them sign next to it so that you got it signed, they stamp your booklet, they sign their initials next to it or whatever, so it's like a little mini signature of authenticity, I guess, but there's probably a reason why they have to have somebody physically see that artist sign that book, whatever, but it's just, dude, I guess if you wanted one signature, it'd be fine, but what I had in my mind was not the thing to do, and I don't know, so that was that, but people charging to sign books, I think, was the one that took me aback. Now, I think I've gotten books signed before. Like, I know I have a trade of the Daredevil, Guardian Devil from Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada, Jimmy Palmiotti signed it for me. He did the inks on that book, and I remember that was over 10 years ago, I think, and didn't cost me anything for him to sign it, whatever. But everybody here, like, that was at least, I think, represented by a big company. There were a bunch of guys on the wall that all had the same, like, table cover with the same logo on it, Comic Art Expo or whatever their booker was. And then the next row over that was a bunch of purple table covers. It's a bunch of different artists with a different company. So I guess that's on top of the convention booking through that company with all these different artists. It seemed really kind of weird and complicated. And, you know, there was one girl bouncing between Peter Tomasi and Brian Azzarello. Couldn't have been nicer. Nice woman. But she had a credit card machine, and then I spotted a couple other people with these machines to tally up, you know, who's doing what. But, you know, I paid Peter Tomasi $5 to sign Detective Comics 1000. Doug Mahnke, I didn't pay anything. I paid Brian Azzarello $5 to sign the Dark Tower hardcover. And then him was especially a bit of a shell shock, even though I still did it, to get the Batman Damned #1 signed, or it said looked like any Batman Damned on his little handwritten sign on the bottom. It was $25. So I paid Brian Azzarello, who's probably giving a cut to his dealer or whatever, $30 for 2 signatures. And I was okay with it because at that point I was like, I guess this is what I'm spending my money on. I brought all this stuff to get signed. I want stuff signed that I know I'm going to keep, or, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do with Batman Damned, but I'm definitely keeping Action 1000 and Detective 1000. So those are my copies. So I care about those, but Batman Damned or whatever I bought for the Batwang to flip it, I think, really, but I don't know if I will at this point. It's kind of late. But I don't think I'm ever going to pay $25 for a signature again. I walked up to Neil Adams' big booth. He's got like the space of 6 tables. He must do very well at these shows, but there was nobody shopping at his booth to buy his prints. They were a little more pricey than the others around him, and he had a lot more selection too, just in terms of prints and all the stuff he's done throughout the years, I guess. But I would think maybe the bigger your selection, the lower the prices to get people to buy. Whatever. I had, what is he in? Detective 1000 ready to go, and the guy was like, that'll be $50 for a signature. I was like, woo! Sorry, no thank you. Maybe a different day. $50? I mean, I did pay $25, but it's Neil Adams. The guy signed 1 trillion books, and he's got 6 tables worth of art here, and he's still doing commissions and stuff at the table. He was drawing something for somebody, you know, a stone's throw away from me. I was watching him, but man, oh man, $50. I mean, I get like Stan Lee when he was alive. God rest your soul. I'm looking at him over there with my picture with him, charging for signatures and stuff like that. I'm fine with writers, I guess, charging for a bunch of books, but like one book, I mean, $5 is not a lot of money until you start like stacking it, I guess. I don't know. I was trying to stick to cash, and I only had $40 in my pocket, and I spent the whole $40 on a couple of signatures on basically for 3 people. So that was a little disconcerting, but you know, it is what it is. I'm not tearing up about it, but it was just a little weird to come to the con that I've been going, the only con I've ever been to, #1, because there's very little cons in Florida. There is like a competing one in Tampa, but even Megacon last year had a little mini Megacon in Tampa or whatever in the fall. I've been to that one as well. So like in Orlando, there's only one con, and then everything else, because Florida's this long peninsula, it's like a 4-hour drive to get, you know, 3 hours to Jacksonville, 4 to get anywhere else into Georgia, South, you know, Alabama, whatever you want to go to, and then it's 3.5 or 4 hours down to Miami somewhere, from where I am at in Orlando, and it's 2 to Tampa. So it's kind of a hike to get anywhere. It's not like living in Pennsylvania and, you know, you got all that stuff, Pittsburgh, Philly, Heroes Con, blah, blah, blah. You can like bounce around in a couple of hours or whatever, but I know there are people that do this, and I'm not bashing you. It's just, I don't know. Florida's weird. Florida's weird. But I was not used to paying for signatures. So I guess that's a new thing now, I guess. Not everybody does it, but it seemed like these guys with these big companies were definitely doing it. So let me know what you guys think. Have you paid for a signature before? Do you regret it? Do you wish they weren't doing it? I'm totally fine with you charging me for a bunch of signatures if I'm bringing you a whole box. But 2 or 3 books, I'm fine with CGC. But 2 or 3 raw books, I don't know, man. I know writers don't do art, so they're not like selling prints or whatever, but the writers still had like hardcovers and stuff in front of them, omnibuses. Now, were they selling like hotcakes? No, because they were selling them full price, right? Like the Tomasi had his Batman and Robin omnibus in front of him signed, and he was selling that for $150. I think that goes for $125, maybe $100, plus a signature's worth, add on to that. I don't know. I'm not in the economy. So that was that. I ran into my old friend Cammie from high school at the DC booth. She was working there. So that was fun. But had a good time. I'm still continue to go back to Megacon, every year, at least for the day. And I don't know, just see what's around. So let me know what you guys think. Should artists and writers charge for signatures? I don't really think the artists should, because they're usually doing commissions. I'm still torn on the writers. And $5 is a little steep for one signature. 5 for $5, $1 or $2, I know, but then is it worth their time? I don't know. It's a whole thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you like this video, thumbs up, thumbs down if you didn't. Like, comment, rate, subscribe, all that nonsense. And thanks for you guys for watching. As always, I will see you guys in the funny pages.